Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and friends. And guess what? I have a lot of friends with me today. Now, as you can see, if you're just tuning in and you've been waiting in the chat, I want to thank you for being here. We're going to put on an incredible show for you. And of course, like I said in a tweet just about an hour and a half ago, the panel that was originally advertised has rapidly changed, as you can see. And so let's get an update on what's going on. First of all, Wilmy Hood, who is supposed to be our guest this evening, is he's handling business. He owns a business that does the cleaning in a lot of these schools and other government locations. So he's taking care of business. He's cleaning these locations to make sure that we can get on with life in his neck of the woods. So he will be making a return appearance probably next week. So we wish him the best of luck and make sure that he stays healthy and safe. Of course, recovering from being sick, and I don't know exactly how sick he was, but it didn't look good for a while. But I just talked to him tonight, and he is remotely better. Of course, that is so shady. We also had Tempest Son, who's come down with a little bit of a bug. We don't think it's anything serious. He feels like crap, so he's taking the night off. And our good friend Gaming Forte, who we know is our inside source to, of course, everything GameStop. He is stuck at work in an emergency meeting, and obviously we know what's going on with GameStop in the world. So, of course, he'll be coming back next week. And, of course, Clowns, our very, very good brother, is still tending to his wife from that very vicious car wreck, maybe I think it's about maybe 3 or 4 months ago. So, of course, he will be making a return appearance as soon as he's well. And, of course, his wife is feeling better. But with that said, I have gathered an amazing panel, and of course, the last of those, the panel that we have that you've come to expect each and every week is my very good friend Cybernox. First of all, Cybernox, thank you so much for being here once again. Our resident Cape Crusader, who actually thought he was going to be late, but figured out a way to drive that Batmobile through Connecticut like a lunatic to get here on time. Thank you for being here, dude.
Absolutely. I put that Batmobile in overdrive. I had to be here. It's a great night to be here talking games with everybody, especially with everything that's going on. It's a small sanctuary here for everyone. So I'm glad to be here. Glad I was on time, and I'm glad we got, some great topics to talk about.
Well, it should be a lot of fun. And obviously, when you talk about gaming, listen, let's just get this straight. We're not going to mention too much about world going-ons right now because, quite frankly, you could look at any news outlet and be disgusted. And it's a scary place. And you come to these, to these podcasts to kind of unwind, let your hair down, and just hang out and talk about video games. So that's what we're going to do for the remainder of this program. And, of course, let me introduce the two very special guests that answered the call once I ran up to the top of the boom tower and put up the signal for podcast help. They responded. First of all, you know him as the showrunner and voice of the Basement Radio Arcade podcast. He's a very good friend of mine and someone I was truly and honestly looking forward to meeting in real life during E3 2020. Unfortunately, we know what happened there. But Enrique, thanks for being here, dude. Super appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. My pleasure. It's nice to have some, like I said, before we went live, have some adult time. So thank you, man. I appreciate the invite.
Well, it's great to have you here. And of course, coming up in the rear and someone that I absolutely out of my mind excited to work with once again is someone whose opinion is raw. His opinion is straightforward. And you know what? At the end of the day, he is a diehard gamer. Please welcome Crispy Bomb.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. As usual, awesome to answer the call, as we like to say. And yeah, let's get into it.
You know what? We're going to open up with something, like I said, hashtag fun. Now, you tune into these gaming shows to talk about games. So I want to talk about Doom Eternal. And the reason why I want to talk about Doom Eternal, because quite frankly, there are a lot of people in the community that have been playing this game. And, there are many that are suggesting that this could, in fact, be an early runner for Game of the Year. And you know what? I don't think I would argue that fact. Obviously, you can see by some of the screenshots that I'm going to bring up. This game is gorgeous. It is really one of ID Software's best developed titles. It's fast. It looks unbelievable. I've been putting up tons and tons of pictures that I'm taking directly from the Xbox One X. And I got to say, I mean, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that I could play Doom Eternal for like 6 hours because Doom is Doom. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but I played in short spurts. I played for an hour, I'll play for an hour and a half, and I'll go and I'll play something else because it's just one of those games that I think that you kind of, because of the action and because it's very much of the same, go to a location, beat a bunch of demons, get the key, jump to another location, beat a bunch of demons. Nothing's wrong with it. I'm absolutely having a great time, but at least for me, I am doing it in spurts. Now, obviously, I took pictures of me wearing the Doom helmet. I actually was going to start the show on camera wearing that helmet, but I gotta be honest with you. The helmet is a little tight, and guess what? It's a little hard to breathe in that thing. So I didn't want to kill myself live on the air. So I figured, you know what? I took a picture with it on. It looks amazing. The collector's edition is dope. I have it up on my mantle. It lights up, which is amazing. And you know what? Let's get into the actual game. Now, Bethesda has released the graphics specifications for Doom Eternal, and many users were disappointed that Doom Eternal will not run in true 4K resolution, except with, of course, the very niche number of PC owners with incredibly powerful hardware. And I'm shaking my fist. Damn you, PC Master Race. And of course, it just so happens that I wrote that in a week ago, and here is Enrique representing the PC Master Race. So my question to you, Enrique, is have you played Doom 64? But more importantly, where are you playing Doom 64 or intend to play?
Well, the where is obvious. PC.
Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, right? I mean, you know what's funny is I actually haven't fired it up yet. I've been playing. This is crazy. Like, I've been playing Ori, and I started playing Warzone with Mooch, and I got hooked.
Okay.
And so I haven't got to. It's crazy. Like, the game came out last week, and I haven't played it yet. But I do intend playing it on PC. It looks awesome. I did watch a couple live streams. I was watching, Alana Pierce and some of her colleagues or friends stream Doom. But honestly, man, again, I haven't played it, but it looks badass. It looks awesome. I love the frantic pace of what I've seen so far in terms of the in-game action, and the music in that game.
Oh, it's great.
Awesome.
It is
Awesome.
probably the best of the series. It is really, it's what you would expect in a Doom game. It really is. It's fast paced, a lot of real big riffs, very, very metal. I mean, listen, I'm enjoying it, but you know what? Here's my question though. I mean, the list. First of all, the story that I pulled it from Game Rant, and they had a list of the specifications here. And obviously, if you have a tremendous rig, like of course Enrique does, you would play it there. If you enjoy playing on PC, even if I had a rig, I'd probably still play it on my console because I've always been a console guy. But this is the best graphics, quote unquote, on paper, according to the article. And at number one, of course, no surprise, PCs with ultra nightmare specifications can run Doom Eternal at 4K at 60 frames per second, or, and this is where it gets crazy, folks, 1440p at 120 frames per second. So if you can run that, my God, good on you for spending the money. Coming up at number two, believe it or not, and this is a bit of a shocker, Enrique, Google Stadia and Xbox One X upsampled to 4K from 1080 from 1800p at 60 FPS. Coming in third is the PS4 Pro and PCs with recommended specifications, and it runs at 1440p at 60 FPS, upsampled to 4K on the PS4 Pro. And coming in fourth is the PS4 vanilla, and PCs with minimum specifications running at 1080p at 60 FPS. And at the fifth place is the Xbox One, the old, the fatback, and the Xbox One S upsampled to 1080p from 900p at 60 FPS. So that's a big boo there. But you know what? I mean, obviously, you're going to play it on PC. Just so the viewers want, kind of want to get the idea of what you have. Can you run it at ultra nightmare specifications?
Are we throwing out specs right now? Let's go.
I think I'm
ready for this. Let's go.
You know what? I haven't played the game yet, but I'm assuming my assumption is I'll probably definitely get obviously 1440p, probably somewhere within that 100 120 frames per second.
Wow. That's
yeah, but I mean, I'm running Warzone at 1440p high settings, and that's an online shooter at 110, 120 frames a second.
Wow.
Sometimes it dips below 110, but I mean, it's night and day. Like I played it on Xbox. I played Warzone on Xbox One X, and it's night and day, man. Like it really is. If frames, I can't stress enough how much frames impact the gaming experience. It really does.
You have the monitor to go with that too?
Yeah, I have a monitor that 144 megahertz refresh rate and
nice
1 millisecond input lag.
Okay.
Yeah, so and it supports NVIDIA's what is it? G-Sync.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so and then the interesting thing with NVIDIA is that as soon as the game released, like it was like the drivers are ready, it downloaded automatically. But if I had to take a stab at it, boom, I'm guessing 1440p, north of 100 frames per second at the very least for my card. I have an RTX 2070 and AMD 2700X CPU.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I have two SSDs. So, yeah, man, I'll be good, man. I can't, you know what? I'm probably gonna have to go play it tonight after we wrap up. Now that we're talking about it, because I'm curious to see how it's gonna run.
Well, I mean, just looking at some of the screenshots. Here's one of. Look at this. This is that's great. And you know something, dude? I took pictures that look that good from the Xbox One X, and I put them out on Twitter. They were so good. I used them for my backdrop on my phone. Like that is just, it's crazy how detailed everything is. But you know what? Let me get over to Cybernox. Cybernox, listen. The two very important questions I think we have to ask here are, number one, where will you be playing the ID Software's potential Game of the Year 2020 in Doom Eternal? But the second question is this: obviously the game is out, people are loving it, people are taking pictures. I saw a dealer tweeting about it, Colt's tweeting about it, I'm tweeting about it, Shady's tweeting about it. And you know what? They're considering this to be one of the best Dooms in the series, and I think that would be a hard argument to make. Considering how amazing is your hype meter past 100?
Oh man, let me tell you something. If this Doom is anything like Doom 2016,
it blows it out of the water.
I'm all in, because that game, it was just it was near perfection. It resembled everything about Doom that I like. You had great shooting mechanics. You had the gore, and the soundtrack was out of this world. It just kept pumping you up. And people often say, you're the boss of the level, and everybody's there stuck with you, and you're just over there destroying everybody, chainsawing people, ripping people apart. It's amazing.
The glory kills are as gory as you could possibly imagine. I mean, eyeballs are ripping out, flesh is being thrown all over the place. It is so detailed, it's shocking.
And it makes you, move around, fast shooting. It makes you, not want to stay in one place. Exactly.
Yes.
It makes you move and do all these different executions and things like that. I unfortunately do not have a rig as powerful as Enrique, but I built my rig about 4 or 5 years ago. But I don't have a monitor at that capacity at all. So I'll most likely be playing this on Xbox, my One X.
Mm-hmm.
It does phenomenal for me. There's too many games to play right now. I just don't have I'll have a little bit more time in my hands right now, but there wasn't enough time before. Okay. So I will be playing this on the X, and I've seen screenshots on Twitter. You're posting some amazing screenshots right now. I think shout out to Xbot. I think he put a couple of the screenshots on Twitter, and I saw it, and this game looks beautiful, man. It
I mean,
looks
here's
insane.
one pulled directly from the game. That is
Yeah.
pulled from the
Oh
game,
my
dude.
God.
That's just crazy.
Graphically, this game is doing wonders, and then you mix that in with the shooting, like I said before, the soundtrack, and what I've heard is there's some crazy boss fights. There's a lot of demons that you gotta have to go and rip in half. And I actually heard that the lore of it, a lot of people don't pay attention, don't really mind, don't play Doom for the lore, but the lore of Doom is actually pretty cool. They do a lot of background callbacks to the background of the story of the Doom Slayer and things like that. So
yes,
I'm excited, man. Unfortunately, I haven't started playing this yet. I am playing Ori. I'm also hooked to Warzone. So Enrique, if you guys ever need a third, just hit me up.
Yeah, dude, definitely, man. Like I said,
dude.
I was playing with Mooch yesterday,
Yeah.
and met up with some of my old Xbox Live buddies, and actually, first game was slow-mo backslap. We won.
I got
Nice.
that dub. Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, Doom looks phenomenal. I'm glad to hear that it's up there contender for Game of the Year, but 2020 is in slates to be freaking one of those years that Game of the Year contenders are gonna be. We're not gonna be shy of any Game of the Year contenders, to say the least. So yeah, I'm excited to play that this week. And unfortunately, I haven't started it, but yeah, I will be soon playing it on my Xbox One X.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, people are gonna have the time. And real quick, I have to thank Millet Boyo drops not one but two super chats. One was $2, and he dropped the second one for $3. I want to thank you for being here. Oh, then he drops another one. He says Doom ? He drops a $4 super chat, and that is from Millet Boyo. Thank you so much for your generosity, dude. Really appreciate that. So here is where I'm going to bring Crispy Bomb into the conversation. Now, obviously, I know you guys heard me talk about the collector's edition. Here's a shot of it. And yes, the helmet does look that dope. I mean, like, it really, really does look that good. So Crispy, my question to you was, I know you. Listen, everyone's been working real hard. Everyone's, the world is very, very tough right now. Have you had the time to get into Doom, Doom Eternal? And if not, is it something you plan to play soon?
To be honest, just what I have in my library alone is enough right now.
Okay.
Like even like last night, ended up playing with Noof, a bunch of other people on, some Gears, Halo. We kind of went to like a bunch of different games. So it just been enjoying friends, trying to unwind. With the games that I know very well. Kind of lets me just escape, and I don't have to think about what movements I'm doing in some of these games, so it's a little helpful right now. In general, I have a little issue with Doom because I don't feel they had any emphasis on multiplayer at all, and kind of just went to this 1v3 style thing that I'm not a fan of. I've played that in Dying Light a few times. It's just not entertaining to me. In general, the game looks amazing as far as graphically. A far cry from what Bethesda's been doing lately, so that's a good thing to see. It looks like they're finally turning a corner on how they're going to make games. In general, am I going to purchase it? Not at this time with everything going on. And I'm a little worried because Microsoft has marketing rights, and generally to Game Pass. Just saying. And honestly, Game Pass has been giving me a lot of games I never would have thought I'd play. I find that the games that I've purchased, I still haven't played enough of to justify the purchase. And in the end, it is giving me enough to say I'm going to wait. And then at the least, if it comes out for like $20 or something, maybe pick it up then. Like I said, if it had, and I just wish a game like this would have a co-op element. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? It just seems like it would be an awesome time with like at least one other friend. I don't know if they could do that down the road at some point, but that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, you know what, dude? When and you're right. When you talk about marketing rights, there is, I think, a clear and concise reason for the aggressiveness of what Microsoft has been doing. Because obviously, obviously pre 2019, like even in 2018, we saw Phil Spencer kind of really change his stance on the marketing deals, and they've marketed some of the biggest games, no doubt about it. And there could be some caveat to them doing these big deals, and of course sending a big big check with a bunch of zeros to say, hey, listen, after 3 or 4 months, your game it could potentially be just sitting on the shelf. If you add it to Game Pass, you're going to get more play, more people downloading it, potentially buying it, because that's what people do on Game Pass. And this could very well make its way to Game Pass in a couple of months. So maybe waiting isn't such a bad idea. I mean, look, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to come at this from, unfortunately, again, this panel was kind of put together literally the 7th hour, or the 11th hour, if you will. I said the 7th. My God, terrible. But in the 11th hour, so I didn't obviously get a chance to poll anyone. I would have probably pulled the story if I didn't get enough people to play, because Shady was going to be here, and Shady, who is probably in the chat right now, is screaming at his computer. Damn it! I wanted to talk about it because he's been crazy for this game. He already called it his game of the year 2020. But for me personally, let me just say this. If you enjoyed Doom 2016, I can assure you from gamer to gamer that not only does this trump it, it tenfolds it in every way possible. It has a pretty interesting story where they talk about a lot of like the Doomslayer stuff, which, again, it's a dude bro shooter, put on your helmet and go. But it's a game that I definitely think a lot of people would be interested in if, of course, you enjoyed Doom 2016. I think it's worth the price of admission. Obviously, if you are a fan like I am, you buy the collector's edition, which I don't even know if you could find right now. But I would definitely say that this might be something you want to look into. But you know what? Let's move on to the next topic. Obviously, we want to keep this with gaming. Now, I want to go into Resident Evil 3. Obviously, I think it's safe to say that whenever I get an opportunity to add a Resident Evil topic to my shows, I take it. Thankfully, because I'm the showrunner, I'm the boss, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So I never get bored of talking about Capcom, because quite frankly, being an old school cat who grew up in the in the early days of gaming, when TVs were 2 rocks and you know what I'm saying, there were 2 rocks and an antenna. But for me, nothing screams classic like Capcom. And as I've said on this program numerous times, for me as a gamer, as a diehard fan of this very, very Japanese type company, they were on the ropes in 2016 to the point where they were considering bankruptcy. And I know that I've told this story before, but the reason why I continue to tell it is to look at see where they've gone. 2017, we get Resident Evil 7. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Resident Evil 7, when I first saw it, being a classic Resident Evil guy, I was like, man, I don't know, first person, it's probably going to suck. I think Capcom made a boo-boo here. And after 6, which was horrendous, it's the only Resident Evil game I never beat. I played 7, game of the year, same as Mooch. We both agree, game of the year 2017. And then the hit parade started. You got Monster Hunter, right? A big hit. You had, of course, Devil May Cry, which came out. They re-released Onimusha HD, which I think they were just testing the waters. And, of course, Resident 2, my game of the year 2019. And then Resident Evil 3, man, dropping on April 3rd. And I got to tell you, man, that demo, I played it 7 times. I played the demo 7 times. I haven't played a demo like that since like the PlayStation days. Like, like when Wipeout was on a Wipeout. And I think what else was on one of an old Wipeout, and something else was on like one of those PlayStation magazine discs. And I just kept playing it and playing it, playing it. Like I loved Wipeout. And I played this game seven times in like almost one sitting. I just could not stop playing it until I got my fastest run. I beat the demo in 4 minutes and 40 something seconds. I mean, I literally ran through the demo, but I want to get the opinion of not only the chat, which we have over 100 people watching, and that's awesome. I don't necessarily know what's going on with YouTube. This week has not been good for them. The notifications are not going out, so people they just don't know. So if you're in the chat and you're enjoying today's show, do me a favor, throw it up on Twitter, let people know that we're live, because for some reason YouTube, maybe it's just getting overworked. Obviously everyone's home, so everyone's watching YouTube. But Crispy Boy, I'm going to start with you first, because I don't know what Resident Evil 3 necessarily means to you. Whether you have such a fond appreciation for the 1999 version, or did you get a chance to download and play the what I for me personally anyway, it's my very early game of the year 2020. Did you get a chance to play the demo, dude?
I did not get a chance to play the demo. Actually, my hard drive is maxed out right now. Like literally, it's like if there wasn't a new console coming out, I'd buy the external. But I'm like, you know what? Let me just wait now. And I don't want to uninstall the games I have because they are huge downloads. So at this point, I did watch it on YouTube. Obviously, you don't get the same feelings, but it definitely interests me because I did not play number 3. I only played number 2 back in the day. And that's because like number 3, just especially then, nobody really touted it as being as good as number 2. So I kind of was on the multiplayer kick and like a lot of Maddens at that time and NBA Lives and all that. So I never played it, which is good for me because I generally have trouble going back to games I've already played. It's more or less, I know it's different, but I still feel like I played it before. And, now the purchase is justified because I never played it to begin with. It's a completely new game to me. I am very excited. It's my type of, horror style game because it has a lot more action involved. And I like the way they did Nemesis. I mean, it seems more for the times, more fast paced, more jump scares. It's definitely not the Nemesis of the movie, not this slow ulking. He's fast, and I think it's a good representation, to be honest, because if you're gonna make a creature like that, I don't think he should be slow and regarded as dumb or something like that. It should be very crafty, as I like to call it, and I feel they've done that well, and I feel they definitely from what people have told me that have played the third one, like one of my best friends, he's like, this game's totally different, which excites me because the way he described the original is not quite my thing, but this seems more my pace, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you this. Obviously, Mr. X from Resident 2 is very hulking, very slow, methodical. You hear his you hear his footsteps above you, and he's very menacing. You know what I'm saying? But he's not fast. Nemesis is fast. He is ultra quick. You do meet him once in the game towards the end of the demo. Sorry, spoilers if you haven't played it yet. You are going to meet him. And he comes out of completely nowhere, and listen, the jump scares are going to be, I am going to tell you this, running around Raccoon City as much as I did in the little part of the demo, there's a tenseness to how close quarters a lot of the stuff is, because you're running down alleyways, you're running down streets are blocked off with burnt cars, there's zombies all over the place, there's a bunch of new creatures. I know that they added I believe a significant amount of new story elements, because some of 3 wasn't translatable to the modern console. Not so much for the power, it's just the way the story was told and the choices you were able to make in 3 I don't think they would translate well into the storytelling that they wanted to do, which is great, because that means that we're going to get someone like me who beat Resident 3 probably a dozen times, maybe more. I'm going to get something new out of this game, even though it's an old remake. It is unlike anything that you've ever played. The only thing that you can obviously compare it to is going to be Resident 2, and of course Final Fantasy 7, which comes out only a week later, which is ridiculous. But I gotta tell you, if you are excited for the game, get even more excited, because I'm gonna say this, and this is a bit of a stretch, because you know how I feel about Resident 2. I think it's gonna give Resident 2 a run for its money. It's that good. So Enrique, I want to go to you next on this, dude. I don't know what your affiliation is to the Resident Evil series, or Capcom for that matter, but the demo is out. Again, it came out in a time where, you know, a lot of people are home. A lot of people got a chance to play it. Scared the hell of a lot of people. So a lot of people streaming it. Got really well. It was very well received, but not only by the gaming public, but of course by the gaming media at large. They had a lot of good things to say about it. For you, is Resident Evil 3 Remake something that's going to be you're going to consider getting?
Oh, dude, absolutely.
Okay.
Like Capcom, you know what? It's so great to see kind of Capcom come back, you know, because I grew up playing a lot of the Capcom games, you know, Mega Man back in the days. And you know, and I would agree with you, Boom. I think this game is going to give RE2 kind of run for its money.
Yeah.
Because a Nemesis is such a more intimidating.
He's legit, dude. And it's
yeah.
I mean, he has flamethrowers. He's got guided missile rocket launchers where he targets onto with a laser.
And
Crazy.
He's fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fast. Like that first encounter, like I was like, okay, here he is, you know, looks pretty badass. I wasn't expecting him to be that fast. Like he's like I was running with my character and he's literally leaping over me.
Yes.
And I'm like, what? I'm like, whoa, what just happened? And then I dodge him, and then I'm running up the stairs, and he like throws out his little what's it called, like his little tentacle, whatever, grabs me.
Yeah, it grabs you, push you on the floor.
Yep, yeah, right, push you on the floor. I'm like, yo, this dude is legit. Like Mr. X was like definitely like, you know, an imposing figure. You could hear his footsteps, but Nemesis is it's just on a different level. And I actually played the demo 3 times, played it twice on PC, obviously. And played it on the PlayStation 4, and I loved the 3 times that I played it. I cannot wait. It's one of my most anticipated releases. And I was thinking, like, with everything that's going on, I was thinking, like, maybe Capcom, if this game's gold, Capcom should just release the game early. Let us have at it, right?
Yeah,
because we're only a couple weeks away from it.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense, because, you know, obviously, you know, again, and that kind of, I don't want to turn this into a movie conversation, even though I'd love to, because I talk about movies all day, especially when you talk about the MCU. There's been a lot of films that have been pulled, obviously, from the theaters, because all the theaters around the country, pretty much around the world, are closed. So my wife and I didn't get a chance to see Pixar's. Oh my god! I just saw it the other night. What the heck's the name?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
the one with the elves. My god,
the elves.
Yeah, something home. I can't believe I had a brain fart.
Onward Home or something.
Yeah, Onward. Yes, Onward. Yeah, and it was fantastic. It was so you know, I don't want to say typical, but they tell so typical Pixar. And of course, you know, they have quite a few other ones. I know there's been some talk about Black Widow possibly, but then they're going to hold that. I'm hoping for New Mutants though, because that got delayed multiple times. That looks really good, believe it or not. But yeah, that wouldn't be such a bad idea, because people are home. Unfortunately, we're kind of mandate. I mean, I only go out twice a day, you know, because my wife is she works at a senior center. And you know, they make meals for the seniors. She's the assistant director, and they just designated her particular site as being one where many organizations throughout the city are going to come to get meals to, you know, obviously feed the seniors who can't get out. They're stuck in home. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I mean, so everyone is stuck in, and they would probably do really well in sales because
yeah, I think so. They probably would. You know,
yeah, you know, real quick, I just got to shout out Chris 713. He actually had made a comment a little while ago. He said that we need Code Veronica remade. And I got to be honest with you, man. Code Veronica, one of my favorites. That was a big Dreamcast exclusive on the for a while. It looked amazing. It's aged horrendously now, but you know, it is what it is. You know, Pong looked good at one point. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I'd love to see Capcom go into remaking everything. Like I know that sounds like, oh, boom, you're ridiculous. We need new games. You know what? There's plenty of games for you to play, kiddo. We need remakes, because I can guarantee you that I'll say Resident Evil Code Veronica, and half the people in the chat right here, all 100 of them, will be like, what the hell's Code Veronica? Because they have no idea.
Yeah, well, boom. I mean, to your point about the remake, I mean, this is a little bit different. I mean, this is a game that came out like 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, so, 1999, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a considerable amount of time since the original release, you know, and this is kind of, I think they're taking that kind of the Hollywood approach of revisiting some of those older franchises and remaking them. And I will say this one more thing about Resident Evil. That RE engine is awesome.
It is really something special. Beautiful.
Yeah. Like they've done a wonderful job with that engine. It's not when I was running on my PC, it wasn't very taxing on my PC at all. And you know, I heard you say Onimusha. I hope they remake Onimusha. I hope that HD was kind of like you said too.
Kind of like a test. I think
test the waters.
I mean, look. Let's call a spade, right? That part of Japanese history, right, with the shoguns, and we've seen it's a very, very popular era of because you could whenever I think of that, feudal Japan, I think of samurai, and of course I think of ninjas. And like I said, for the longest time I've been saying that Assassin's Creed needs to do a ninja game. I don't know what they're waiting for. So, but getting back to Capcom, we saw how well Sekiro has done, right? And even though that's not like Onimusha, it's its own thing. It's more close to Dark Souls. Back in the days, Onimusha was Dark Souls just by Capcom, because some of those boss fights were vicious and they were multi-tiered, and there were some controller throwing people out there that broke controllers because it was a bit frustrating. And I would love to see, I mean, obviously we have Ghost of Tsushima coming out, which is going to be amazing. And I think that Capcom, the market right now as it stands, isn't saturated enough, where if they decided to maybe make Onimusha in the RE engine the same way that they, remake the original the same way they did 2 and 3. And I think the entire world would be jazzed about that. The same thing about, the disappointment I felt when we heard that they were working on Dino Crisis and somehow that project got canceled. But I will say this, whatever they're going to be doing next, I hope it's a remake of one of the classic games. I know people are going to boo me on that, but you know what? These are not just HD, cash grabs. These are from the ground up, incredibly looking new titles. And I guarantee you, there are a lot of people that missed out on Resident 2 and Resident 3 and will be super stoked to play these games. If you haven't already played 2, shame on you. And I think you pick it up for like under $20, which is ridiculous. And 3 is going to be amazing. So yeah, I can't wait to hear what you say once you get your hooks into it. Cybernox, I want to go to you next,
yep,
dude.
Sir.
Resident Evil, is it your bag or isn't it your bag? And did you get a chance to play the demo?
Love it. Love the Resident Evil franchise. I love the horror. I love what they've done, especially with the remake that we got last year. It just blew my mind. That game looked amazing. Enrique alluded to how great they've optimized this RE engine, and it shows, man. It doesn't matter where you play, the game looks fantastic. Graphically, it looks fantastic anywhere you play. I did play the RE3 demo. I think it's the Nemesis is like, he's like the real boss, Mr. X was just like, okay, here's the teaser, and the Nemesis is just like, it literally went from 0 to 100. You know what I mean? Fantastic. It's just more Resident Evil, exactly what they did last year. I will say one thing though. I mean, if you play any of the demos, and I would recommend you playing the demos first, see if you're gonna like the game. We live in a world now that demos are like almost non-existent now. So
yes,
at least you get to try it a little bit before you can, spend money on the full game. But I will say, however, that wow factor that I got with Resident Evil 2, I didn't get with 3. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh, okay, it's a fantastic demo. I loved it. I'm gonna be playing 3 for sure because I'm just into that genre, the horror genre. But that wow factor that we got when you turn on and you play the Resident Evil 2 demo, and and you took a look at those graphics, and you took a look at the movement, the shooting, everything was on point. And Resident Evil 3 is also that. But
It seems like
I
they
got my
definitely
wow
stepped up
factor
the
on
action,
too.
though.
You know, oh yeah, oh for sure, yeah. The action stepped up, so yeah, man, I'm excited for this to come out. I think I want to play the demo again. I haven't finished Resident Evil 2 yet, but I remember playing Resident Evil 2, you know, back in the day. So I'm excited, man. Capcom is killing it. I'm glad they made a comeback. They were struggling for a little bit, and for them to pull a 180 and just excite everybody again about their future projects is exciting.
Yeah, no, real quick. And you know what? I want to bring this back around to the panel. And I'm going to start with Crispy Bomb. Now, Crispy, as you know, and I think it's been very well stated, you, my friend, are a multiplayer kind of guy. So I kind of want to talk about Resident Evil Resistance, which is the 4v1 that comes right along. It's its own separate entity that's coming. I don't want to say if it's free. I think it's like a 2-pack. You're getting Resident Evil 3 remake, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis remake, and you're getting Resident Evil Resistance, the 4v1, where it's I'm assuming, again, I can assume here that it might be Wesker that you're controlling, that are making these monsters go after your survivors. With 2 games for the price of 1. Would that potentially push you over the edge of potentially getting this game because of the single player, which we've talked about, but the multiplayer looks fantastic.
I mean, so you're controlling. So, what is the premise? Because I haven't really read it.
Basically, the premise is it's a 4v1 where someone is the I guess baddie, and you're sending the creatures out to go kill the 4 survivors that are running around.
Okay.
So it's kind of
like Evolve, something like that.
Yeah, yes, I would imagine it's something like Evolve. Yeah.
So, because like if you end up being somehow Nemesis, that would be cool. I'm just saying that would be pretty cool. But that's me like thinking, because you got to understand, like Dying Light had a mode very similar. You know, where you and I haven't played it in so long, I can't remember the names of the enemies that are ridiculous, but they're basically nemesises in their own way. And that was fun for a while. The only thing is that those game type modes can get a little boring unless you have a good party. It's almost like, you know, the Friday the 13th style game, something like that. You know,
everybody wants to be the monster, you know?
Yeah. So, you know, if it's like, it actually sounds a little bit more interesting if you like kind of maybe if you ramp up becoming Nemesis or you unlock them, maybe that's what you'll end up doing down the road, you know, so that it keeps you engaged, keeps you like, oh, eventually I could be Nemesis, you know what I mean? And that's pretty interesting. The only thing is I don't like games kind of acting like they're 2 separate games when they're really just should be one. You know what I mean? Like too many games have put these modes and we just talked about Doom, and like Doom doesn't, I feel it needs just a regular multiplayer. I don't, you know, if it had a regular multiplayer, I'd be more interested in purchasing it. You know what I mean? And this seems more of its wheelhouse. You really don't want a regular multiplayer in a Resident Evil style game. That doesn't really work. But I hope it's free. It's just a separate download, and they're just hyping it up by acting like it's 2 separate things. Does it interest me? Of course. I mean, like I said, if I could end up being Nemesis, I might actually get really into it because you know what I mean. Like he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm coming for you." You know what I mean? And that's something that would be really awesome.
You know what?
Boom. Can I just add one more thing?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
You know, it's funny because Chris 713 mentioned if it was going to be on Game Pass. Now, I don't know if anyone remembers, but there was that big deal that they made when Xbox made a deal with Capcom to get Devil May Cry in there on Game Pass, and there was, what was it, 17 mil?
Yeah,
something like allegedly, like we don't know for sure, right? Or it is for sure. I didn't see confirmations of it anywhere. I honestly thought that they were paying that much money because they were gonna bring more Capcom games to Game Pass, and I thought the Resident Evil franchise was gonna be that franchise that also went into Game Pass. And I know there have been, some of their games on. I know Resident Evil 4 was on there, and they had.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if maybe because this is. I mean, again, what you're saying makes sense.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're going to get an announcement of what games are coming in for the month of April. And because this comes out April 3rd, you never know. Maybe towards the end of March, a good old Larry Herb put something up on the on the Xbox Wire. Says a Resident Evil 2 coming to Game Pass.
Oh man, yeah, you never know. But I honestly thought that deal with Capcom was for more than just one game. But
you know what? It would be interesting to be to get that kind of inside baseball. I wouldn't be surprised if if it would just again 17 million is a significant amount of money, man. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if that would be for one game or 2 games or 3 games, but the fact that Phil Spencer and their marketing team and the people at the that run the Xbox Game Pass are being ultra aggressive. It makes me smile because yes, granted, I do buy a lot of games, but I also don't buy as many as I used to, and I have saved a shit ton of money from Xbox Game Pass.
Oh, 100%. Me too. It was just something I saw here on the chat, and I thought I'd comment on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Enrique, I want to bring you in on this. I want to read you the synopsis from the actual Capcom website. And it says here, Capcom's Resident Evil Resistance is a new 1v4 online survival horror experience set in the world of Resident Evil and part of the Resident Evil 3 package. Unleash your inner evil as a cunning mastermind or join the fight as one of the resourceful survivors desperately trying to escape every obstacle the mastermind puts in their way. And basically the objective of the game seems very simple, but I'm sure it's going to be difficult in actual real world practice. Survivors will win if they manage to escape before the time runs out. The mastermind will win if they manage to prevent all of the survivors from escaping. So it appears that teamwork is going to be key, and I don't know if you have to survive all 4 of you to get out of there, or if you're just like, all right guys, I'm out, and you see your friends get massacred and you just take off running. I don't know if that's going to help for you personally, because I know that you obviously you like your single player experience, but you also enjoy a good strong multiplayer game. Obviously, you're going to get Resident Evil 3 for the game that we just talked about. But are you interested at all in the second part of the game that comes with Resident 3?
Yeah, I actually am, because this is kind of somewhat of a new take, and it's funny you said if somebody would start running if they saw their teammates being slaughtered. I would be that guy running. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just gonna if you play with Enrique, I'm letting you guys know right now. If you guys are getting slaughtered, I'm out. No, but I think it's actually a really cool feature to add. I think Crispy Bomb said earlier, if you could play as Nemesis, if you could, that would be awesome. I probably want to do that more than actually.
I got to be honest with you. I think that that's actually quite an ingenious idea, and I'm actually sorry that that's not what the game is, because how I thought, again, reading, I knew what it was. I saw the videos. I didn't sign up for the beta because it doesn't interest me. I'm in it for the single player game. I'll probably give it a go, but it's not what I'm buying the package for. I think Crispy's actually onto something here, because I think that if they would have set the game in a fictional Resident Evil 2/3 world where it was the 4 survivors, we have to get out of here, and they just put the game in front of them, zombies, hunters, the zombie dogs, whatever they want to throw at you, and then someone very much like what Cyber was talking about with the hunting game. Someone could be the nemesis, and if you could be the nemesis, man, that would be kind of dope.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would, but I'll put some time into it, because it's a newer take for me on the game, and but I'm telling you guys, if I will run. I'm just throwing that out there.
At least you're admitting it publicly. So I good on you for that. But you know what? Let's
I think those games, Boom. Just to add one more thing.
Actually, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, it's just so hard to get right. Just because, kind of like Crispy mentioned before, if you're not playing in a party, if you don't have if you're not speaking to anybody, it just becomes everybody doing their own thing, and you're all fighting against one certain entity. And then if you don't have your coordination correct, then it's like all downhill. Then you're just literally going based on I would even say almost luck. It gets hard to coordinate and get everything correct. So those games, it's just tough. At least those Friday the 13th game, the Friday the 13th game, everybody's trying to escape, right? And you can do it. You can do so by yourself. That's why I think Evolve wasn't as successful as it could have been, just because a lot of people were just going in there doing their own thing, not everybody working together. There was no communication. So it's going to be interesting to see. That was also a new IP. The Resident Evil franchise is something that everyone knows and a lot of people do love. So maybe there'll be a little bit more, TLC on that. But besides that, it could be hard,
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's going to be interesting. Again, it's the main sale, I think, of the game is going to be Resident 3, Nemesis remake.
Oh,
and I think that them adding this for the same $60 is a big deal. I know there's been some concern about Resident Evil 3 being shorter than Resident 2. If you remember back in the days in '98 when Resident 2 came out, I actually, shamefully enough, and my brother can attest to this, I actually beat Resident 2 the same day, both campaigns. I started as Leon, I finished as Claire, I beat it, and literally I sat there the entire day. I actually took I was a very young police officer at the time, and took my very boring vacation, which of course the old timers ragged me for months because I took off because of a video game. But I took off for Resident 2. I imported it from Japan because I imported everything back in the days. And I sat there for, my God, it was probably 10, 11, 12 hours. And I beat Resident 2 the first day. It was crazy. And obviously, as we know with the new Resident 2, you start as Leon, you beat it as Claire. That was one phase. And obviously, you would restart it as Claire, beat it as Leon, and you would get some of the story that you might have missed. Whereas this doesn't have that. This has you're playing as Jill, and I know that you're going to be able to use Carlos. I don't know who else you're going to use throughout the game, because I know Carlos is definitely usable, kind of like Ada Wong was Resident 2. But I am going to say that from what I understand, they did do a tremendous amount of additional story elements to, again, fix what they couldn't use from the original game. So it's probably, listen, if I was a guessing kind of a dude, it's probably going to be a 10 to 12 hour experience. And I mean, if that's too short for you, then wait for a sale. What can I tell you? Me, I had the collector's edition that unfortunately I'm not going to get now, damn it. But hopefully, after the world kind of fixes itself, which it eventually will, maybe my GameStop will have it waiting for me, but we'll see. Again, people come first before stupid video games. But I just kind of want to move on to the next topic. But I want to just thank Eagles fan 76. He actually had said something in the chat, and I kind of figured this because I was talking to Cognito and I was looking at the show, and I'm like, man, you had a lot of people in the chat. What happened with people viewing? And apparently, there's been some trouble with YouTube since I believe it was Saturday, and he was saying something is going on with YouTube, not saying you're going live. So it's a little bit disheartening.
Yeah, I saw that earlier tonight too, man, with your show, and I was like, this is bullshit. Like, they need to figure this out, because it's like, to me, like, this is an opportunity for people to kind of get away from watching the news and just hang out with their fellow gamers, in live chat, in the live chat, and listen to us. It's just unfortunate.
It's a shame, and I'm gonna tell you why it's a shame, because they are not shy about taking 30% of your monies, which they do every month. And that goes for everything. Whether you're trying to do something nice for someone in a charity drive, they don't give a shit. They take 30%. And whether you're trying to, run a very successful YouTube channel, they don't care. They take the 30%. But God forbid you have a problem, there's no way to contact anybody unless you're, you know, a million plus person, because then of course you get a handler and you can give them a call and say, hey, Irene, something's going on. But Boom can't call anybody. So if you are enjoying it, hit the like button and just do me a favor, throw it up on social media. Say, hey, listen, we're live. You know, if you want to come and check out Primetime Gaming, we're going to be talking about some really good stuff. But, you know, as we close in on the first hour of the show, I thought that I would save the next one for the back part, because I think this is a topic that's not going to get hot and heavy. I think it's a topic, though, that is going to be one that carries us through to the end of the show. And you'll see, I'm going to bring it up right now. Sony just revealed the PlayStation 5 specs. The question is, or the question of the hour, are they using smoke and mirrors to fool the millions of PlayStation gamers? And you say, wait a second, Boom, hold on just a second. Where are you getting this information from? Well, I'm going to tell you. As I scroll up in my homemade, thingamajig, I pulled a story from WCCF-Tech, who's been very busy lately regarding PlayStation stories and, of course, Xbox Series X stories. And they posted an article titled PS5, Sony PS5 versus Xbox Series X Technical Analysis. Why the PS5's 10.3 teraflops figure is misleading. And I thought, I want to bring this up. And, Enrique, I didn't know you were going to be on the show. I mean, obviously, you jumped in at the last minute, and I super appreciate that. I'm actually glad that you're here simply because, well, PlayStation, we saw the reveal. I had a live stream where I had worked the game, both Chris and Brian on. I also had Bad Bit Gaming, which was on, which is great. He's normally a PlayStation guy. And to say that we were underwhelmed would have been a complete understatement. Now, granted, I understand that I'm not a boob here. I understand that this was originally meant to be a GDC presentation. The problem with Sony, and the problem I think is going to become more evident as we get closer to Sony's PlayStation 5 launch, is that the same Sony that I cheered for their cheered and of course patted on the ass when it came to their unbelievable and very aggressive marketing, for some reason that seems to be gone, and I don't know why it's happening. They seem to be very club-footed, I should say, as of late. They seem to be making bad decisions. And again, we have to understand something. No one is taking away the dominance that they did for almost 6 years. No one would dare take that away. I mean, their aggressive behavior in their marketing is something that I revered. And I thought it was well done, well played, and they deserve the success that they have because they put the work in, right? But we also have to remember that, taking nothing away from Jim Ryan, who I don't know the guy. I mean, again, he doesn't know me either. This is a Jim Ryan run Sony, and I've heard people ask me, well, what does that mean, Boom? What the hell are you talking about? Well, all of your rah-rah guys that were your upfront and personal and community-related, guys that ran Sony, they're all gone. Everyone is gone. And right now you have Jim Ryan running it. The head of Guerrilla Games is now the head of, took over for Layden that. Well, I won't say left. I don't know what happened to Sean Layden. I don't know whether he was fired, he was booted, whatever, but he left. So now we have someone new running the show, and things just don't seem to be the same, so to speak. So let me get into the actual article. This is as you can see, I read you the title, and I'm going to be honest with you. Not only do I agree with the article that was written, I have to say that the 10.3 overclock statement by Marc Cerny, to me anyway, was more smoke and mirrors than anything. And here's why. With absolute confidence, Microsoft's reveal was not only clear and concise, but it had not one, but two third-party testers like Digital Foundry and Austin Evans to take an up close and personal look at the Xbox Series X, and then they put the damn thing on camera. They put it apart. They put it together. They took it apart. At one point, I think Austin might have actually dropped one of the parts. And granted, was magnetized to show how the thing went together. But the presentation was there. The numbers were there. They had such confidence in the ability of this machine that they basically let Digital Foundry have at it, and they let Austin go crazy with it. Now, again, I understand that this presentation on Wednesday was supposed to be for GDC, but like I said in the post presentation that I did, this was marketed towards the fan base, and I say that with confidence because it was posted on Twitter, and it said, and I quote, come see the future of PlayStation." So as a gamer, I tuned in with my glasses clean because I wanted to see. I was hoping to get an actual look at this thing already. You know, I was expecting something, and I walked away very disappointed. And I think that, you know, it again, Marc Cerny, brilliant man. You heard me talk about the guy. I think he's the smartest guy in the room. Any day of the week he walks in, no questions asked, right? He's just not the guy you have to have up there talking about your system. I mean, sure, he can give you the specs because he designed it, but he just didn't do a good job conveying a lot of what we want to know about the PlayStation 5. So this is what some of the article had to say, and I want you to understand something. I'm reading directly from the article. I want you to understand that. I want to give WCCF-Tech credit for it because this is where I pulled it from, and this is exactly what the article had to say. You can now see why the clock speeds on the actual hardware specifications, how many control units a GPU has, both play a very big role in how much graphics power a GPU has. With Microsoft, we know that the GPU has 52 CUs for a total of 3,328 stream processors. We also know that the GPU will have a stable clock speed at 18.25 gigahertz and is fabricated on the TSMC's 7-nanometer advanced, or of course the N7P process. This gives us further information about what to expect. This also tells us that we can absolutely trust Microsoft's calculation of the 12.1472 teraflops running at the 1825. On the other hand, though, the Sony PS5 has something called a variable clock rate. And what that means is that the console will not run the GPU at the 2.23 gigahertz all the time. Since Microsoft's clock is a static number, just because let me go back. Since Microsoft's clock is a static number, and just because PS5's clock rate is a variable makes the 10.28 teraflop number incomparable to the Xbox Series X and misleading. This is because the XSX is displaying the sustained T-flops figure while the PS5 is displaying the peak T-flops figure. To give you some context, when the industry uses the term T-flops, it's usually referring to the sustained T-flops figure, not the overclocked, which means, again, that it's probably the 9.2. And I'm sure everybody in the chat, I'm sure everybody in the panel heard Marc Cerny say, and I heard him because I listened to the thing live and then I listened to it again later that evening. He started out by saying, well, the T-flops number isn't the end all calculation for what's going to run in the console. It was, I'm abbreviating for it, but we understand that it's not all about T-flops. It's about everything else that surrounds the T-flops. But here are a few more things wrong with the presentation according to the article. And I have the article in the show notes that if you want to go check it out after the show, just click the link. It's right in there. These are the things that they had to say. And again, it was very, very long. It was about maybe 6 or 7 pages worth. I couldn't fit it into the script. It would be here for 3 hours. So I just pulled some of the points that I thought would make for good conversation. Enrique, because you're our PC Master Race guy, I'm going to go to you next after this. It says this: it's extremely unlikely that the PS5 will be able to sustain the 2.23 gigahertz clock for anything but a limited number of scenarios. And here's another point. The fact that the XSX or the Xbox Series X has 44% higher CU count is something that the PS5 simply cannot overcome. Point number 3, regarding the N7 Plus process, things are going to get ugly, and developers cannot just rely on all CPU and GPU power like the Xbox Series X. Okay, point number 4, the PlayStation 5's variable clock rate will not run the GPU at the 2.23 gigahertz on a consistent basis. That's going to be a problem. Point number 5 is when talking Microsoft's clock rate versus the PlayStation 5's variable rate, the Xbox Series X has a static number. Just because the PlayStation 5's overclocked rate is 10.28 T-flops, it's still incomparable to the Xbox Series X, and suggesting otherwise is misleading the PlayStation fan base. Now, these are their words. Enrique, I want to go to you because I know that you yourself have been very active, a good friend of the show, someone that you have on numerous times, someone that I've been on, that I've had on my show. Of course, Optimus Code, who hopefully is listening. This guy knows his stuff, and we understand that the T-flop war isn't the end all. But I gotta be honest with you. I have to be completely honest. Taking nothing away from the genius that Marc Cerny is, it seemed that there was a lot of misdirection and incomplete information while he was up there for 52 minutes. And for him to start out and say, well, T-flops aren't really the end all, basically was admitting defeat, that they had a 9.2 teraflops. This is, of course, the same guy that when the Xbox One X came out, he basically was trying to equate compact math to making it more T-flops, and we know that didn't happen. So, I mean, listen, for you personally, what were your takeaways from the actual 52-minute event from Wednesday? And do you agree or disagree with the WCCF-Tech article that I brought into the show tonight?
Well, with the reveal, obviously it was a little bit of it wasn't the most exciting reveal, anytime, I remember when they tweeted out that PlayStation was going to, that lead senior architect for Sony, Marc Cerny, was going to give a deep dive into the PlayStation 5 architecture. When they tweeted that out, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a dissertation.
Well, because if you 20 minutes felt like a lecture. It did.
Yeah, I mean that's just Marc Cerny's style.
Hasn't he done that every single time?
Yeah, he has. He's the difference with the reveal, the play, like if you think about the last console reveal, hardware reveal they did, PlayStation 4 Pro, Cerny did go out and give his dissertation, but they did have developers come out on stage. Now, Digital Foundry did actually confirm, Richard Ledbetter did confirm in a video that he was actually supposed to go out and meet with Marc Cerny.
Yes, that's correct.
And that couldn't
happen because of real world events.
Yeah, exactly. And I can tell you guys, I think, I don't want to talk too much about this because I think we're living this every day, but this pandemic, I think, has really had even more of a profound impact on not just we're seeing the impact in world economies, our own economy here in the US, but it's really having an impact in the gaming industry. And I think this is probably going to
let me tell you something. I'll let you continue, but I kind of just want to add something. This is going to affect potentially a lot of late games this year. A lot of games that you are expecting to come out in September, October, November, we may see delays of unprecedented amounts.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Boom. I think we had David Jaffe on last Wednesday, and he was like, "Hey, these guys are working remotely. They're not used to doing this. It's going to be interesting how like a game like The Last of Us 2, depending how far along they are, now they're trying to debug. Are they going to be able to do that remotely?
That game was. I'm sorry, Enrique. That game was supposed to be done right in April, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Originally, it was supposed to release in April. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think Sony's kind of an interesting position now because they can't do those big, media events. They can't invite, companies are literally locking down their buildings. Like, I know companies that won't even allow you, if you're not an employee, you're not allowed in the building.
Yeah, that happened to my wife's place. You cannot enter the building unless you're an actual employee.
Yeah, so I think that they are probably, and again, this is all speculation. None of us really know what's going on behind the scenes because we're not sitting in those or privy to those meetings. But if just in my opinion, I think that this pandemic has really altered how they message and maybe deliver the marketing or revealing of this console. They weren't planning to go to E3, but now you throw this in, and now you can't do those, the events where they wanted to more maybe interact with fans. That's gone for the foreseeable future, So this is kind of this is uncharted water for any marketing department right now. And so it's interesting to see how they're going to, not just them, but even Microsoft, how they're going to market this thing and reveal it in the future. But I'm sorry, but what was the other part of your question, man? Because I just went on a rant there.
Listen, again, we can attack this from different angles. Again, look, I'm going to say this. The reason why I read directly from the articles, because I'm not a dealer, right? I'm not a cult. I'm not a D-batch. These guys who I tune into to hear when you want to talk about specs. So you built your own PC, so you obviously know a heck of a lot more than I do. I'm simple. I just want to plug and play. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No.
It's the way I game, right? But my question to you really is this: as someone who is going to buy a PlayStation 5, you've already said it. We all know we're all buying PlayStation 5s. I mean, I can't say for Crispy. I know Shady is not. I know quite a few people that are going to stay away from it. For me, I cannot wait to pre-order mine. But my point and my question really to you, Enrique, is considering the fan base, and I think that we can equate us being a part of that fan base because we proudly support the PlayStation brand. We have been starving for information. We have. And I've said on numerous shows that I believe, in my opinion, someone that's been covering this industry for over 2 years professionally with my channel, and someone that reads 50 plus articles a week and writes for 3 live shows. Both companies are moving in different directions. And I'm not saying Sony's in trouble, Sony's going bankrupt, Apple's going to buy Sony. No, but there is a obvious rotation that's different. Microsoft is on the rise. They have the media talking about them. They have the gamers talking about them. Social media is talking about them. They've been putting things out. They've been stealth drop bombing things since December 12th Game Awards, and it's been all Microsoft. Whereas Sony, not taking anything away from what they've done, not taking away from anything they have coming out this year, they have not been the same Sony. And this particular event, I think personally, was they shot themselves in the foot. The marketing team did not do Cerny any justice whatsoever, him being up there, and people expected more. So my question, even though I'm long-winded and I apologize for that, is that in your opinion, did this hurt them, and did they actually convey what the console can do?
I think unless you're because this was geared towards developers, I don't think you're not going to get, and even with the Xbox, you're not going to get an idea of what it can do until the game starts releasing, and then until you start seeing like websites like Digital Foundry, really start benchmarking these games. I mean, it's easy for us to say more power equals better performance, but that's not always the case. There was a interesting article. I would encourage anyone who's interested in game development, and just in my conversation, we talked about Optimus Code. Code has been made games, right?
Yeah, well, he's been in the business. Yes.
Yeah, and so his explanation behind the scenes to me about some of this stuff is just wow. Like there's so much more that goes into game development than just power. I think for us, because we don't it's like the whole teraflop thing too. It's interesting. Like Code said to me, teraflop's just a marketing word. It's just an easy marketing spiel to put that number out because it's easy for us to understand, but like he says, like it's not, T-flops is a useless metric, and he said that, and actually Matt Phillips, who just wrote this article, very interesting. If you guys follow Matt Phillips on Twitter, he's been a game developer for about, I think 15 years. And he goes into his articles, teraflops versus performance difficulties of comparing video game consoles. I would encourage anyone that's really interested in how the hardware and all this, what this all means in the grand scheme of things, read this. because it's very interesting. It's not always a, oh, well, 2 + 2 = 4 type thing when it comes to hardware and code. We did a stream this past weekend where code breaks down kind of the specs and stuff. Look, we're not going to really know like what the performance of these consoles are going to be until we see the actual games running on them. I mean, that's going to give us the most.
I mean, I think that we can talk numbers and power all day. I want to bring up 2 charts, Enrique, and I want to do it while you're still talking because I don't want to obviously bamboozle you. This particular chart was put into, of course, the WCCF-Tech article.
Yeah,
and you know what? In layman's terms, it's very easily understandable. So here's the thing: it says Sony PS5 with leaked clocks. Sustainable clocks was 9.2, right? And it says here, Sony PS5 as advertised was 10.3. So this is where it gets interesting. And this is how I know that maybe Sony isn't being as forthcoming as I think that they should have, to be honest. The Xbox Series X, as we know, 12.1 teraflops. And with the same exact math that Sony is using to overclock their so-called, numbers. According to this chart, the Xbox Series X with PS5-like variable clocks is technically 14.6 teraflops. You see what I'm saying? So using the same principles that Sony is using for the overclocked variables, bringing them up to 10.3. If that same ideology and math was used for the Xbox Series X, it would bring it up to 14.6. And Microsoft could have easily, advertised that, and it would have been a frenzy online, but they advertised it at the steady 12.1 teraflops. So this is where, as a Sony fan, I kind of got a little bit of a problem with this.
Well,
because it's Marc Cerny's, math scenario that he did when talking about the Pro going up against the Xbox One X.
Well, here's the thing, Boom. Like, so this chart, like the Xbox Series X Microsoft's not upclocking, right?
No, they're not. No, it's running.
So I think with this, if I'm looking at this thing correct, if I understand correctly, it's like if Microsoft was to upclock, they could potentially upclock to 14.6.
Yes.
What you're seeing is 2 different situations here. Sony, and it's like upclocking like we do with PC, like when you upclock your GPU, CPU, you could do that with the PlayStation 5. You can upclock to 10.3. Where Microsoft's saying, hey, we have 12.1 teraflops readily available always. You don't have to do anything to upclock. It's there if you need it, right? And not all games are going to use the 9.2 or the 10.3 teraflops. Not all games are going to use the 12.1 teraflops, right?
Right.
So I mean, I don't think Marc Cerny is being.
Well, I'm not going to call him a stone-faced liar.
Like, I don't think he's and you've got to remember something too. Like they're going to advertise the 10.28 because 10 is a more attractive number than 2, and that goes down to marketing,
right?
So for me, like just like when I was like listening to this him talk about the PlayStation 5 specs, I got a better idea in terms of the vision and what Sony's trying to do,
right?
In terms of maybe moving game development forward or designing game design development forward with their thought process of their throughput, the SSD, things like that. Like it's a very fast system. Like Code was talking about it on Brap on Saturday, just looking at the numbers. Now I know there's something else that Microsoft's doing with their Series X that Code really couldn't discuss because we didn't really know too much information and the name escapes me. But anyhow, has something to just do something with accelerating how quickly it reads or uploads. I have that
story.
Textures.
I only read through it once. I usually read when I'm going to make it a main topic, I'll read the story 3 times. I'm actually going to be talking about that on I'm not sure if it's tomorrow's special edition Xbox Factor podcast or Thursdays, but I'm definitely going to be talking about that where it's very interesting what they're doing. But listen, look, I want to say this, and I want this to be completely understood. I support all consoles, and I proudly do it. And am I excited for the PlayStation 5? Yes. Whether it was 9.2 teraflops or 10.3 or 14.88, I don't give a shit because I'm buying it regardless.
Yeah.
Now, do I think it's going to be $400? No, I do not. I'm expecting to pay $500. I think that right now, from the Bloomberg report, as we know, it's $450 without advertising, packaging, and of course, sending it to the stores, with shipping, that you're going to get that extra $50 to round it out at $499.99. I don't think that especially in the current world situation, Sony isn't going to eat $100. So if it was a plan pre, division, the world has turned into the division, really.
Yeah.
Maybe they would have eaten it to try and get these consoles into the hands of every PlayStation owner, because it was so, it's PlayStation 5, it's this, it looks great, all the games, $400. That's not going to happen. It's going, if a huge if it launches. I got a funny feeling. I have nothing to go on except my personal feeling. I think that the PlayStation 5 is likely going to get delayed. And here's my reasoning for that. I know shit. I don't know anybody in Sony. I don't have any connections. But my concern is, we've heard numerous developers say that the dev kits are very loud and they are run very, very hot. This is why they had to spend the extra money on the cooling system, whatever it is that they're going to use. My concern isn't just that. My concern is that we have not seen the box. I find it very, very odd because, Sony, they could be very reactionary. And I say that because of this event that happened on Wednesday. Microsoft stealth drops all this information. Digital Foundry drops the 2 videos. Austin Evans drops the video. People are going apeshit. People are doing emergency streams. Everyone is going crazy, right? Because it was amazing news, completely out of left field. This particular event, I thought, was very reactionary because it seemed like it just was a rushed event. I'm sorry, it really did. Even though it was pre-taped, it seemed like it was in reaction to what Microsoft has done. If Sony did in fact have this console's final design and final specs ready to go, because they are who they are, Enrique, I think they would have shown it already. And they haven't, and this non-confidence that I see in them makes me believe that this thing could potentially slip. Whereas Microsoft has come out, both Phil Spencer and AMD, no, we're launching this fall. You'll be there. Now it's probably going to be very limited, but they're going to launch. I don't know.
Yeah. So Sony's actually just they updated their PlayStation 5 website. I think it was today, as a matter of fact. It says coming holiday 2020.
Okay.
So I don't think it's going to be delayed. And the other thing too, like, I think with the PlayStation 4, if I'm not mistaken, we didn't see what the actual console looked like. They did a reveal in February.
Yes,
that was much bigger.
Yeah, you're right.
But we didn't see the actual console until E3 of that year of 2013. So there's still time. I mean, they're not going to react to Microsoft as much as Sony is going to react to Sony. Like they need to tailor that marketing message, which who knows, maybe they're still working on that. I think there's definitely be some pivot, some things they're going to be talking about that may disgruntle the PlayStation faithful as relates to first party games on PC, which is ridiculous. No one should be upset about that. But I mean, I'm not, again, I'm not, if we get to July, August and we haven't seen the damn thing yet, then I might be like, wait a minute, something's going on. But
yeah,
I don't get the sense that that's happening. Especially now that they dropped the, just updated the website saying that, that the console is going to launch at holiday 2020. So, could it be delayed? Yeah. I mean, the Xbox could be delayed too, depending on how bad this pandemic is and how much longer this thing goes on, right? Because what we're seeing in Hong Kong, the numbers could go down, but as soon as people go back in the street, guess what? Those numbers shoot up again.
What? I'm interested to see. And again, we're not doctors. What the hell do we know? I watch a lot of the news, and I've been keeping my ear to the floor because this is something you really gotta. Even though we don't want to deal with it, you kind of gotta deal with it. I don't necessarily know that if you've had it, could you get it again? I'm sure it's like the flu. It's just it's a more hyperactive super bug, if you will, and once your body beats it. Now, whether you get deathly ill, God forbid, or you don't get any symptoms, your body's going to produce antibodies that are going to kill the virus, right? It's going to kill this in your body. If you already have, if your body is aware of these of the bug, if you get it, I mean, will you get it again? Well, I don't know. I'm not a medical professional.
We don't know.
Right. So it's going to.
There's not a lot. Yeah, there's not a lot of data out there, but
Right.
My biggest takeaway, Boom, just kind of circle back to your original question about, the reveal and everything. Yeah, it wasn't what we typically, as fans would want to see from Sony. I wasn't particularly like overly hyped about it, but my takeaway was, okay, I know the specs. I'm really interested to see, because my biggest takeaway is this is a very fast console.
Yes.
I'm interested to see how developers, kind of how they utilize this hardware. Because one of the things that Optimus Code was saying to me was that if you look at, and this isn't a knock on the hardware here, but he's saying if you look at PlayStation 5, look at Xbox, the Xbox platform seems more of doing the same today in terms of hardware, and where the PlayStation 5 seems a little more forward thinking in terms of giving developers tools or the hardware potentially create or try new things in terms of game development or game design that we haven't seen yet. So that when Code said that, I'm like, wow, I'm really interested to see what.
Yeah, I'm curious to listen to that podcast after you just mentioned
it was
because I don't.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I disagree with a lot of what he had to say. I respect his opinion. I think that what Microsoft is doing with the Xbox Series X for a home console is probably leaps and bounds better than anyone's ever done it, and that includes Sony. So I disagree with a lot of what he had to say. I think that
power, absolutely, but when he's talking about.
Yeah, but his theory was based on what they're going to be using the faster SSD. But we there's a lot of things about the Xbox Series X that are still we don't know about, and that they're specifically stealth dropping the information. And I got to be honest with you, and I'm not picking sides here because I'm buying both. But if I had to say, if there's one console that I think is really, putting their nose to the grind in regards to designing for next generation, it's not Sony. It's Microsoft because of everything that they're doing. Whereas I as again, this is just my personal opinion. I feel the PlayStation 5, yes, it's going to have 9.2 or 10.3 overclock teraflops, whatever the fuck, and it's going to have a faster SSD. I think that what they're doing. Is it really that much different? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I mean, I heard what he had to say, and I respect his opinion because he obviously knows a hell of a lot more than me. But I disagree with in regards to what the companies are doing and who I think is doing it better.
Yeah, again, on paper, it's that again, it's all paper. Like the ultimate thing that we're going to see and what we'll figure out in terms of development and actually, Pixel BG just I meant to say something like this is also the caveat too was we also don't know about the Velocity engine in the Xbox Series X, which could be the equalizer, if you will, in terms of how this machine pushes. I forget what Code was saying. Pushes textures, high quality textures. So, but again, at the end of the day, I mean, it's going to come down to the games. It's going to come down to the APIs. It's going to come down to the talent of the game developers, how they choose to develop for these systems. I think if anyone is really, wants to kind of get an idea of what a performance gap might be, you could probably just compare, what we see with the Xbox One X with the PlayStation 4 Pro. That's probably what we'll see. I mean,
again, I'll put it to this way: both companies' first-party developers are going to make things that are going to completely melt our brains. There's just no doubt about it. Now, granted, past history suggests that Sony may have the advantage there because of what they've done this generation, and I may not argue that point. I may not argue that point because 2018, fantastic. 2020, great. 2019, not so much. 2017, not so much, right? But what I will not do, and what I see people continuing to browbeat, is yes, Has Microsoft had the greatest track record this generation with their first-party games? Well, some will argue that they enjoyed them. I will argue I enjoyed them all. You can say whatever you want about Crackdown 3. Sure, it's not the game of the generation. It wasn't the game of the year, but I enjoyed playing a game because I'm a Crackdown fan. Quantum Break. Okay, 900p. Okay, fine. Maybe it wasn't a game for you, but I happen to really enjoy Remedy, so I love that game. Sunset Overdrive, another one. Fantastic game by Insomniac. No one really bought it. Shame. If you missed on that experience, well, shame on you. Rise, Son of Rome, a game I hope gets a sequel. The list goes on and on. And granted, they're not The Last of Us 2. They're not the Ghost of Tsushima, but we also have to give them a chance to fail again, right? Like, there are so many people like, just a second, boom, they're going to suck anyway because it's Microsoft. Well, I can argue that point because they have 15 first-party developers when back then they only had 6. Right, and they're working on, from what we know, thanks to Dealer and Colt having connections, they're working on 20 titles, and I can guarantee you that there's a good chance that half of those 20 titles are all AAA bangers, like the kids say. So before we say we hand the crown over to Sony, which by the way, in my opinion, has been fumbling as of late, let's give Microsoft an opportunity to fail. If they F up and they fail with the quality of games compared to Sony's PlayStation 5 single player, story-driven adult-themed games that I love, let's just kind of hold off. Now, again, I'm not giving anyone the crown. I want to see both consoles win. But I think that right now, based on what we've seen, the Jim Ryan Sony not doing as good as the current Phil Spencer Xbox. But you know what? But let me get Crispy Bomb in here, because I know, Crispy, you've been very active on Twitter, right? We know that you're an Xbox guy. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm an Xbox guy, but I support all 3 consoles. Proud to do it. But my go-to is always going to be Xbox. It's just where I lay my head at night, right? For you personally, as someone that might have been interested in the PlayStation 5, considering that Sony has basically given their fans nothing, we've had nothing from them. Yes, we're getting Final Fantasy Remake as an exclusive for a year. Good on Sony. We're getting Ghost of Tsushima. I got the collector's edition pre-ordered. I can't wait. We're getting Last of Us 2, probably game of the world, right? Game of the universe. And I'm okay with that. But with all of that said, that does not excuse or take away from the fact that Sony is not the same Sony, and this presentation was not only boring, but I think it did them a disservice. What are your opinions on this, dude?
Well, at first I want to say, and I got to say this because it's driving me nuts. I mean, people are defending things, and some people, and I'm not talking about, there's a good majority on there that I at least look into what they're saying. Some people are just taking people out of context. I've watched Digital Foundry, some of their people, John Linneman, and a few other people, call people out because they're either misinterpreting or taking them out of context. There's some people that need to relax. Okay, I mean, buy paper, and I'll agree with Brad. Buy paper. Xbox is more powerful. Okay, just deal with it. All right. You're going to get amazing games on both consoles. All right. Nobody, and this is the weird thing, like, nobody really acted like this when the 1X was more powerful. Okay. But I mean, everybody's losing their shit. And it's going both ways. People are over defending. Like, I'm just sitting here kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to tell people to calm down. That's almost what I feel like I'm doing now. You know what I mean? Like you gotta, and I agree with everything Brad said. Like, you gotta see the games running. I have found Digital Foundry in some instances, even I believe Doom Eternal, it actually had a little hiccups on the series, on the Xbox One X and not the PS4 Pro. But also had still a slightly higher resolution. So there's balances there that, like you said, maybe that speed in the SSD means something. Does it mean a 20-minute lecture? No. I mean, this is the problem I have, okay? PlayStation being reactionary back in the day. You're not having, you already say you're not going to GDC. Microsoft already, planned out this whole thing anyway, the game stack or whatever, which, I gotta say, Microsoft's a little bit better set up for this, this world we're in right now, because, they have the infrastructure already to do meetings and calls and everything else on the fly. They've been doing inside Xbox for a while. You know what I mean? Like, it may not be the greatest thing in the world, but it's a whole lot better than what I saw from Sony. And I understand it's for the developers, but the way you presented it is just completely unnecessary. It is so old school that it's just, I mean, I had so many, even Sony, centric guys were like, I feel like I'm going to fall asleep at times. You know what I mean? And I just don't I have to agree with you, Boom. Like, it doesn't feel like the PlayStation that I've come to know. Have I owned a PlayStation 4? No. Did I buy a PlayStation 3? No, because it was too expensive when I wanted one. And then I got a 360 and I played Gears, and that's the end of the story. Okay. Right. But in the end, everybody's taking, first party this, this and that. I would tell you, I played plenty of games I enjoy. Some of them I believe should have been in Game of Year talk. Some of them definitely not. Okay. The one thing that I always, would like to say to people is, if you like really good single player games, go buy a PlayStation. Okay.
Right.
But if you like that multiplayer game or a game with, 5 different modes that are all AAA quality and you get to play with your friends and talk with them, go buy an Xbox. And then if you really care about power, just buy a PC.
Right.
Okay. And
woo, preach, man, preach. PC, baby.
But in all seriousness, like, in the end, I felt sleight of hand. I felt like, why are you going to put the smartest guy in the room to make everybody feel dumb? You know what I mean? You could have easily taken those specs, had somebody could speak better and put them up there, or
they don't have anybody. I think you know what, and that's a really great point. As a matter of fact, Crispy, I don't think I've heard anyone really kind of depict it like that. And to answer your question, and I'll let you continue in a second. The problem is they got rid of everybody. They made such abrupt changes throughout Sony. They don't have a rah-rah guy, and it's certainly not Jim Ryan. I mean, if you saw the beginning of that.
Should hire The Rock.
Yeah, I mean, they could,
anybody.
But I mean, if you saw the beginning of that presentation, first of all, Jim Ryan looked disheveled.
He looked like he just woke up.
He just woke up. That's a great point. I swear to God, I was going to say that.
Looked like he spent the night in Vegas the night before.
He did it like an all-night binger. Yeah, and he got on. He was like, okay, Marc Cerny is going to talk about PlayStation, and he went to go have a coffee. I wasn't saying that with coffee.
Give me Tylenol to water. I'm hungover, guys.
Oh my God! So continue your point, because that's actually, I never heard anyone spin it like that. That's actually really factual more than it is, an assumption.
And not just that. I mean, how many times have they just dropped a tweet or dropped an announcement? You know what I mean? And everybody's went crazy. Like, you could have got the same effect just dropping the specs. You're gonna have people arguing. You're still, like we always say, negative press is still press, right? Even if and you're going to have people defend it. You're going to have people that are diehard PlayStation fans that will call out everything like they have and try to spin it, whatever way they have to. And it's putting eyes on the actual console itself. So in my opinion, it was an absolute fail. And it made me, because I actually found out, because of this craziness that's happened, the grocery, at least my business has been hurting. Now all of a sudden we're not anymore. Okay, so now I might get money that I never get. Okay, and now I have a decision to make, because now I could actually buy both consoles. Okay,
nice.
All right, now here's the thing: do I want to spend that kind of money? Okay, for a less powerful console in my eyes. And you know what? Everybody can say what they want. I am that consumer that just says, I don't care about what you're saying. All I see is a well-balanced console with a higher CU number. There you go. I want it. Okay. And I see, and a lot of people are ignoring all of this tech behind the scenes that Microsoft's doing, like the Velocity engine, like DirectX 12 Ultimate, who they actually machine learning. These are all things that now they could completely fail. I'm not saying they wouldn't, but they seem awfully interested in having all these different ways to help developers, and I feel like that's going to be a big deal in the end. Now, I will also say this: I feel like PlayStation 5 is a first-party box. Their first-party games are going to absolutely destroy on that, and I think they're going to rival any game that goes on the Series X. I really do. I think they're gonna know exactly what to do on it. Now, will the third-party devs be able to do the same things? That's my question. On top of it, I'm gonna spend that kind of money, and I'm gonna play 5 games a year. Because any other game that's a multiplat, I'm playing on the Series X.
Right.
So in the end, I'm almost thinking, why don't I spend an extra $500, get a somewhat decent PC, and do some things I want to been doing in YouTube and at least try out some games I've never played. You know what I mean?
Crispy, when you play games over 100 frames per second, man,
you don't go back. Yeah,
you don't go back, man. I'm telling you, it's hard. It's hard to go back, man. It really is. It really is. I can't even stress that enough. But yeah, do it, man.
He'll play it at 100 frames or over 60 frames on the Series X.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I'm just going to say this. You're going to see some sick speeds on some of these multiplayer games on the Series X. And I can't say much more than that, but you could almost guarantee that it's going to be 120 frames for Gears 5 on the
at least they had it unoptimized after a 2 week old code and was running at 4K at 100 frames.
And I do have a high hertz TV, so I am actually going to experience.
I was going to say that's good. You have a high hertz TV, or you can actually still play the Series X through a PC monitor. That's how I would do it, at least.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing that
TV too. Could easily run 120 frames. It goes as high as 240. So I'm definitely okay with that. Listen, it's going to be interesting, but let's get in Cybernox. Cybernox, I want to get your opinion on this because look, here's the thing. The presentation was a presentation, but what I found interesting about this article from WCCF-Tech is the points that they brought up during the breakdown. And again, like I said, folks, it was a very good read. It was not one way. You know what I'm saying? It was again. I read directly from it, so in my opinion, I think they were very clear on. They were just expressing the number difference and why they thought that the 10.3 was fabricated as opposed to it being using the word overclocked instead of saying what it really is. And what it really is when it's not overclocked, and they confirm this through tests, is when it's not overclocked, it's 9.2. When it's overclocked, it's 10.3. So again, I'm not saying that Marc Cerny is a stone cold liar. I'm not saying that at all. I'm suggesting that I don't think he was as forthcoming. Because, when you say, well, our console is 9.2 teraflops as opposed to Microsoft's confirmed 12.1, it's really a marketing thing, right? So they went with using the word overclocked or variable, right? They use different words like that to make it the 10.3. And that's fine. That's fine. But I think they have to be a little bit more clear because it's not going to be running at 10.3. But my point, Cybernox, is this. Do you agree with the article? Is there anything about the article that jumps off the page for you? And more importantly, what are your thoughts on the way that this whole event went down?
I agree somewhat with the article. I think to me, it's surprising that for the first time ever this generation, their marketing team and Sony doesn't seem like the same Sony of, let's even say, a year ago, right?
Right.
They've been tripping over their own foot. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, this presentation or, this video was for GDC. That should have been done with as soon as GDC was canceled. All right. What Marc Cerny was doing up there, he was just, they could have talked, to developers. Most developers don't developers already have their developer kits?
Yeah, they should have. I believe
Exactly.
all third-party dev kit are out.
what you saw from that was just I saw a lot of kind of like what Crispy mentioned, a lot of misdirection, a lot of smoke and mirrors. The only time when he spoke clearly throughout the whole thing. That man's a genius. Like he
Oh
knows
yeah,
exactly what
he
he's
speaks
doing. I don't
very
want to
clear,
take
for
anything
sure.
away from him, but he's also very smart the way he used his words, the way he articulated this whole thing, right? When he was speaking about the SSD, he had that confidence. He had, that confidence, and he just came in and boom, 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 gave you all the data. Now, when he started saying, but let's not, it's not all about the GPU and it's not all about the CPU. It's not all about T-flops. Anytime he knew that there was going to be some controversy or maybe, or some other type of wording here and there on his presentation, he made it seem like he was downplaying that a little bit because everything has to work in unison. It has to do this and it has to do that. I don't understand where Sony was coming from with this video. They could have easily done something else for developers if you knew exactly that your whole fan base, like everybody mentioned here, you were catering this to your whole fan base. They had 12 million people, 12 million plus now, right? It's probably more than 12 million now. Watch this video, and the ratio between like is dislike is kind of getting up there.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, man. And for people to say that, hey, they have to say something, they didn't have to say anything, in my opinion. Unfortunately, this is the way it's going to be looking like. Some of these companies are going to be, presenting their next consoles, any other information they have for the fans. And if you look at Microsoft, they've taken a page right out of Sony's book right now. Okay. They've been on point with their messaging. They've been bold, and they've been reacting now to what Sony's been doing. I think for the first time, and it surprised them. It's actually a bit appalling. That's why I'm so interested. I'm actually interested to, after the show, I'm gonna go and listen to that stream wrap that you did with Optimus Code, because I want to see what he's going to say about it. Because from my point of view, Xbox has all the power, right? And the PS5, they do have this amazing tech, because the amount of data that they're transferring from that SSD it's like second to none. It's astonishing. But it's kind of like Brap, if you said a 2070 on your console, on your rig, in a 27 AMD 2700, right? If you change your SSD to a NVMe, let's say you just have a regular SSD right now and you change it to an NVMe, all you're gonna do is you're gonna load your games faster, right? It's not gonna make the games look better. It's not gonna do anything more than get you that data. I understand now you can get a lot more data faster to what you need, but that's where I'm curious to see it. That's why I want to hear Optimus Code. I don't know if you guys talk about that at all in your show.
Yeah, he talked about the ability to load higher texture details with the faster SSD and the throughput, the memory bandwidth that's in the PlayStation 5. And I gave him an example of, with my SSD playing Gears 5, I can tell you when I'm on, and again, this has to go with, obviously this has someone to deal with, my PC hardware, but like playing Gears 5, and when you're on that sand level and there's that storm that comes,
that's great.
I could tell you it's
amazing.
It's night and day on my PC, the Xbox One X. It really is. And Code kind of use that as example. And again, I'm paraphrasing because Code's the expert here. I'm not. He kind of, relayed that to the internal SSD, the CPU running at a higher frequency than the Xbox One X, all working unison together to make that kind of that scenario happen. But again, I think his overall point was, at the end of the day, it really comes down to the tools the developers have, and the talent of the developers and what they choose to use in terms of hardware. They're not going to use everything on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and I'm speaking about third-party developers. First party, I think, like Crispy Bomb said, they're the ones that are going to really harness and utilize and have the best tool sets to get the most out of these consoles.
Yeah, because also if you think about it, third-party developers, they have to cater to every single console out there, and if it's a special code or something, a special tool that you have to use for the PS5, who knows if they're going to do it, because whether everybody wants to, everybody thinks, yes, PlayStation this generation has by far the biggest consumer share, mind share out of any console, right? But starting next generation, they're both starting at zero. None of these consoles or none of these companies have sold one console yet. Everybody, there's no pre-orders, there's no nothing. They're starting at zero. So I agree with the article too, Boom. They were just using boost numbers. They were saying, hey, this is the highest number here we can reach, and this and that. Just picture your car, right? It tells you can go 160 miles an hour, but try running that car 160 miles an hour every single day. Let's see what you're going to do to your engine, to everything. Pretty soon it's going to give out. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors with Sony during this presentation, and I was surprised because they've been on point. I think their marketing team is, I'd still say is the best in the game. Let's see what they're gonna do to react to this video, and maybe they'll come up with a fantastic new presentation next time. But for right now, I don't know. It's looking a little bit shady to me.
All right. Well, listen. Obviously, this was a great topic. We do have about 10 minutes. Holy matrimony. Well, first of all, I was gonna go move on to the next topic, but I was completely shocked.
Damn.
Yeah. First of all, Andy Bowles. He drops a $400 super chat, and obviously the amount of money that he just dropped has completely staggered me as a human being, because I've never had anyone, ever in my history give that much in one shot. He says this: Sony appears to be a company having a power struggle and lacking leadership from the event that I saw. They seem to be still in transition, and that could be devastating when putting out a new next gen console. And you know something? Not only is first of all, I want to thank you, Andy, for the ridiculous and unbelievable generosity. Like I'm going to be honest with you, I don't even think I'm worthy of such a thing, but I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. That is unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and more importantly, amazing, getting to your point, no one has talked about this because obviously we're just podcasters, right? Like we come out over here. I write for 3 shows. As a matter of fact, and I've said this before, and Brap, you understand because you're a showrunner yourself, and you guys, obviously Cybernox, I kill you every week with the amount of topics that I write. And of course, Crispy Bomb, you've been obviously a victim of my writing before as well. And we don't know the inside baseball, but that's a great point because right now we don't know what's going on in Sony. Obviously Jim Ryan took over, and Jim Ryan himself has been very successful when he was in charge of PlayStation Europe. And as a matter of fact, if you remember during the 360 era, that European market was pretty dominated by Microsoft. That was a region that they did very well. He comes in and he makes the PlayStation 4. I think it's selling. We had someone from the UK on was saying that it was almost like an 8-to-1 sales ratio in the European market. 8-to-1. Holy shit, that's ridiculous, right? So Jim Ryan did that. And now, obviously with all the moving and the shifting and Sony wanting to go in a different direction, they make him the head of Sony. And I'm not saying that's a bad move. I don't. Hello?
Hey, Boom, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, just fine.
Oh, hey, real quick, I don't mean to interrupt, man. There's some sort of breaking news regarding GameStop, man, and their closure.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
okay.
I saw that they got in Pennsylvania, they got their business license revoked.
No. This has to do with how they're planning on picking. Like you will still be able to pick up things at the store.
Oh well, yeah, go with it if you got that information, because that just makes me very happy. Because I heard curbside pickup, but when I hear curbside, I thought I'd have to walk downstairs to have the UPS, drop it there. Now, if they're saying I just could walk to the door because my thing is paid for and pick it up, you just made Boom a very happy man.
Well, here's the caveat, though. Apparently, it's okay. So pick out items you like to buy and choose your preferred store. Pick the purchase items. I can't even talk. Purchase the items online and select pickup at store options. So now I don't know if that means that we can pick up our pre-orders. I'm gonna have to ask Forte that, but I would. I mean,
well,
I would imagine.
They were having I believe it was the entire district meeting, which is why he couldn't be here. And I believe that's what it was regarding.
Yeah, so they're basically saying, wait till you receive your ready for pickup email. Call us when you arrive at the store. We'll meet you at the door. So, I mean, but I guess how do they do this if they're technically not supposed to be open, right? I mean, can they still leave stuff at the door? I mean, I don't know.
Well, you know what? I will say Connecticut has been pretty good about that. Like they're letting, I think, as long as your door is not, as long as you're not allowing people in the building. Okay, I guess they're kind of being cool. I don't know if maybe other states will mandate differently, but even like some of the larger liquor stores here that would definitely hold more people. They're closing their doors, but they're leaving like their number out there. Say, call, give us your order, we'll run you out to your car.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's if it's certain states maybe they're talking about, or it's all of them. I mean, I don't know, but obviously it's probably up to the governor, I guess.
Yeah. I just got, they're calling it delivery at door. That's what they're calling the service.
So maybe what they're going to do is they'll have 1 or 2 employees in the store. Maybe they've made some sort of a deal, because listen, look, I know a lot of people were very upset. I have a very good friend of mine, Jay the Destroyer, who's in the chat and he's listening. I was going to invite him on, but he had his kids tonight, so he's going to come on another time. We grew up together. We had those epic trades. Jay the Destroyer knows what I'm talking about. He wanted me to talk about how GameStop tried to pitch that they're essential, meaning they're as important as a pharmacy or a food market to be open because people are going to be home. And though I agree with him that he was very upset about that and was kind of like, maybe it was kind of scummy to do. But with that said, I understand to some extent the point of view of wanting to keep it on, because obviously they're already hurting. So they wanted to see, I guess, as because people are going to be home, so people are going to play games. Now, how many people that are home have moved on to digital versus how many people are going to order a game and get it, the physical? Like I buy all of my Sony and Nintendo games in physical, strangely enough, and everything for the most part, unless it's a collector's edition like Doom, I have the disc. So I'm not going to buy it because I'll just put a disc in. I don't give a shit. It doesn't bother me any. But I'm gonna have to. We're gonna have to talk to Forte behind the scenes and find out exactly what this means, because I know this is gonna sound kind of, I don't know what GameStop is gonna do. I will say this: I don't want to see them go. Well, for one major reason. One, because Forte is my brother, and if GameStop goes, that means he can't feed his family, and that's effed up. And I don't want to see that happen to the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of workers throughout the country that work at GameStop. But secondly, we got to remember this. We got to be real careful. We got to be real careful here about wanting GameStop to go out, because we said the same shit about Toys R Us. And I'm sorry to say, I don't know if you have kids. I know everyone. The kids were devastated. In fact, I'm a big old kid who grew up with Toys R Us, and I used to take my partner's my ex NYPD partner, when he did good in school. I'm a designated babysitter, so when they're working, I pick them up, and we would go and hang out at Toys R Us because that's what he liked. He was devastated. My nephew Tyler. This was a big thing for kids. So that went away. Now, granted, it's coming back, but it's coming back very sparing places. When that left, right, we were all devastated. At least I was. So let's again, we understand GameStop needs some management changes at the top, and they are as corporate greed as possible, and it's gross. But at the same time, do I want to see them go out of business? I would say no. That's just me, because I cash in my points. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what? Obviously, look, Enrique, first of all, thanks a lot for for dropping that story, because actually it was going to go into what are you playing, but I thought the GameStop thing was pretty interesting. I'm going to look into it as soon as we get out of here. As we close in on the 2-hour mark, I got to tell you, this was a great show. Some controversy towards the end. We got a little GameStop in there, talking about some games that we're playing that some people didn't play, but that may be interested in playing. So let's get into the outros, get everybody out of here. So we'll start with Enrique. First of all, dude, obviously you have a big show coming up on Wednesday. I don't know who you have on, but it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be great, because your shows that you guys put on. First of all, the reason why I enjoy your panel is because it's like listening to a family talk. And I think that even though you guys fight a lot, especially Forte and Cuomo, is why I say it's very family-like, because like a good family, you guys are going to fight. But at the same time, there is that love and there's that respect. And you get that. You get that with the passion that you guys have for the gaming space. And it's always interesting to listen to what you guys have going on. Tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter. But more importantly, check out your amazing YouTube channel.
Thank you, Boom. Hey, thanks for having me on, man. Like I said, I was in dire need of like some guy talk. You know what I mean?
Listen, you're always welcome here in this house, brother.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. But yeah, great show. And hey, if you want to give me a follow on the Twitters, you can at @Brap_podcast. You can find us on the YouTubes at the Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. We go live every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, if you guys are interested in that podcast that I did with Optimus Code, where he kind of talks about the specs of both consoles, definitely check that out. Very insightful. If you're interested in, kind of the behind the scenes as regards to game development, kind of what goes into that, that's actually up on the channel right now. So definitely check it out.
Excellent. Well, listen, I'm going to be checking it out. I listened to it, most of it, because I really like what the insight that he brings. Of course, I enjoy listening to you, but when you drop these braps, a lot of the times I'm like, oh shit, I'm in the car, I can't listen, or I'm in the supermarket. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was a great listen. I highly encourage, if you want to hear some really behind the scenes inside baseball when it comes to game development. Code knows his stuff, man. This guy was in the trenches, and he explained one of the first times he was on. He explained how different it is when it comes to your ideology. I mean, not yours, but our ideology of why they don't make a game versus what the corporations want you to make. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, thanks for that. And Crispy, I want to thank you for being here, dude, because obviously this was super last minute. I know you worked hard today, and I definitely appreciate you taking the time. Do me a favor, brother. Tell everyone where they can follow you, but also check out the other 2 shows you're on.
Hey, thanks, Boom, for having me. This was awesome. I haven't done a podcast with Brap in a while, so Cyber either. I mean, I think it was like a couple like few Mondays ago, I guess. I think we were on together, but the panels are always changing. There's always somebody there to answer the signal. And tonight it happened to be me and Brap. But I love doing this show, and you can find me tomorrow night, Retro Renegades, 7 p.m. The next podcast, Saturday night, 7 p.m. You can find me on Twitter at Crispy Bomb, Xbox Live, Crispy Bomb 28. Hit me up. We got plenty to game. A lot of people aren't doing much, and I get home late, and I don't mind having a bunch of people in the party and having some fun, man. Did we lose them?
Did we lose Boom?
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. I'm here, brother. I'm sorry about that. I was I was actually reading the chat. But listen to it again. It's always great to have you on. Super appreciate it that you took the time. And again, sorry for the late notification, but today could have been a complete cluster. But thankfully, of course, everyone responded. And of course, last but certainly not least, Cybernox, I want to thank you for being here, dude. I know things were, things are tough everywhere. Obviously, we were talking behind the scenes. You have a little one, you got your family to take care of, but certainly appreciate you taking the 2 hours to hang out and talk video games. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you, but more importantly, check out some of the stuff you got going on.
Hey, man, thanks. It's always a pleasure being here, Boom. And I love being here on Mondays, and especially at this time. It's kind of like Brap mentioned, there's sometimes this is probably the best place to go, get away, get your mind off of things that's going on out there.
news.
Yeah, and talking about games with everyone that enjoys this beautiful hobby that we do. But yeah, so Cybernox on Twitter, Cybernox on YouTube. I'm playing Ori and the Blind Forest right now on my second channel for the Game of March on Xbox Game Pass Club on Twitch. So if you want to go and check that out. I'll probably be playing a lot more now since everybody's just, got a lot more time in their hands. So yeah, it's always a pleasure. Crispy, Brap, Boom. Always fun talking games with you guys. Chat. You guys are phenomenal. And yeah, can't wait till next Monday.
Well, listen, again, as we close out tonight's show, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. First of all, of course, I want to thank the very generous super chats. And of course, Andy, if you're still listening, my brother, that was extremely generous of you. And I think, hold on a second, I think someone came in at the back end. I want to make sure I get very depressed when I miss a super chat. I really do. Let me make sure that I got everybody because it's only right. Let me just see if I got everybody. Okay, I apologize for the slowness. I'm trying to catch up. Okay, so I did get everybody. All right, well, listen, first of all, again, I want to thank everybody for being here. This is a real tough thing that we got going on. And, of course, it's right now, there's a lot of unknowns. Be mindful of where you're getting the information from. I would highly suggest that you're not going into the forums, that you're not going into listening to some knuckleheads on Twitter. If you have some real questions, listen to the news. Whatever your local news is, if you want to get the right from the horse's mouth, you can go right to the CDC website and they'll give you a breakdown of what's going on. Listen, the world isn't over. We're going to recover. We're going to be better for it. One of the things that I personally hope happens, because this isn't something that's just being based on one continent. This isn't one race, one creed, one color, one sexual orientation. What this is a world problem. And we have the world's greatest minds trying to figure it out. And one of the things personally that I want to see come out of this is that we all realize that at the end of the day, regardless of the things I just said, race, creed, color, sexual orientation, and anything, underlining, we're all human beings, right? We're all people. And I'm hoping that we all that we're going to hear some stories. We're going to hear some bad ones. We're going to hear some horrible stories that people took advantage. But I think we're going to hear more good ones. And I'm hoping that this world understands that we have to be better to one another, treat others, with respect. And I'll close it out with this. I don't want to get too preachy because, I'm not like that. But I want to just close out what I do every show that my dad taught me when I was real small. And I think it works. It's more meaningful now than ever. Treat others how you want to be treated. And especially in times like this, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you, my friends, are going to have an awesome time. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.